This is it. The last film before we hit the top 10. I suppose it makes sense that before we take the next big step, we get a nice send-off from a Bond we haven't seen yet in this countdown. So without further ado, I present number 11 on the countdown, The Leaving Daylights. The film begins with a 00 training exercise that goes horribly wrong. What seems like a simple mission ends when an assassin kills one of the 00s. James Bond, who conveniently is also participating in the exercise, pursues the assassin in a wild jeep chase scene which ends with the assassin heading off a cliff. The film then shifts to Czechoslovakia, where Bond must help KGB General Georgy Koskov defect to the west. During his debriefing by MI6, Koskov reveals that KGB is now under the control of Leonid Pushkin, who has revived an old Soviet program of killing Western spies. Shortly after this, Koskov is abducted by the KGB. Bond attempts to locate Koskov through his girlfriend Kara. Bond helps Kara get to Vienna, where Bond learns that Koskov may be involved with an arms dealer named Brad Whitaker. Bond then heads to Morocco, where he is supposed to assassinate Pushkin. Bond spares Pushkin, however, because he believes that Koskov is the real villain at work. Bond and Kara then are taken to Afghanistan after Kara helps Koskov subdue Bond, only to realize later she has been lied to by Koskov the entire time. Upon their arrival, Bond learns of Koskov and Whitaker's plan: trade diamonds to the Mujahideen for opium, which they sell to help arm the Soviets who have invaded Afghanistan. Bond and Kara manage to escape the base and enlist the help of the Mujahideen. The Mujahideen storm the Soviet air base while Bond and Kara hijack the plane carrying the opium. The plane eventually crashes, however, Bond and Kara escape, but not before a duel with Koskov's henchman Necros on the cargo net of the plane. Tying up loose ends, Bond goes to Whitaker's compound for a final showdown. With Whitaker killed and Koskov arrested, Bond and Kara are free to celebrate in the usual manner. I don't care what anyone says, I like Timothy Dalton as James Bond. I don't understand why people like the dark, gritty portrayal of Daniel Craig but not Timothy Dalton's. Dalton was doing the harder-edged James Bond 20 years earlier. The one thing I think Daniel Craig has over Timothy Dalton is that Daniel Craig is a bit more physical. But let's not turn this into a debate. I think the action in the film is definitely some of the best in the entire series. The stunts are fantastic, and it really doesn't get much better than that fight on the cargo net hanging out of the plane. What makes it so fantastic is that it was done for real, like all of the great Bond stunts. Lastly, I'm particularly fond of the music. It has that classic Bond score feel, but with hints of 80s music. I think it's quite good. Let's start with the villains. They're kind of lame. I mean, Necros is okay, even though he's yet another generic Soviet blonde bad guy. He's okay, but Koskov and Whitaker, who are the main villains, just seem too goofy, dopey, or dumb, or something to just really buy them as being evil. I think if John Rhys Davies had been the villain, that would have been okay, because, you know, he's such a good actor. I'm not saying that Joe Don Baker and all the other villains are bad actors. It's just, I don't buy them. And I really don't like Felix in this one. He has absolutely zero chemistry with Bond. They're supposed to be old friends, but you never get that feeling when they're together, which is the total opposite in the next film, License to Kill. I've always thought the Timothy Dalton films were underrated. And I know there are many people out there who will agree with me. I feel like Dalton was never really given a fair chance as Bond, and the legal problems that plagued the series in the early to mid-90s certainly didn't help. And despite some minor issues with the film, I give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Well, that's it for The Living Daylights. Join us next time as we begin the top 10 James Bond films, in my opinion. And I can already tell a lot of you will hate me for my choice for number 10. But the good news, or maybe not good news, I guess it really depends on your opinion, is the next video and all the others will be in color. And Sensurround and 3D and IMAX and D-Box and... Okay, maybe not all those, but it'll be in color next time. So, until then, bye.